Good morning and happy Wednesday to all of you. Listen, y'all come in here really quickly. I want to talk about something that I was reading this morning in Galatians chapter 5 and 7. And it's when Paul's talking, and he says this phrase, and we've said it before. And y'all are gonna hop on the slide later. Y'all know I gotta go to work, so I gotta hop in there, and then y'all just catch the replay. But he asked him, like, you were running well, but what did hinder you? And that was like my devotion of the day, like just some things that I'm working on right now. But I had to stop and pause and come live real quick and have this conversation. And I wanted to ask you the question. I want you to ask yourself that question, like, what did hinder you? Like, you were running well, you were doing well, and even in this moment, it's not necessarily about like being stagnant and not moving, because sometimes we are busy but we're not productive, right? We're busy but we're not really doing things that are actually connected to our assignment. We are doing things that are not connected to our purpose. We're doing things just to be doing things, and it's not actually bringing any progress to our life. And so the question is, like, you were doing well, we were on track, we had a plan, we had a strategy, y'all. That's the conversation where I'm at. There are other people that are anointed for other things, and they may talk to you about other things, but that's what I'm anointed to do, and that's what I'm continuously going to ask you the question about is, where is your plan? Where is your strategy? Because we do live our lives, and we have lived our lives just so haphazardly, where we just think that things are going to fall in our lap and things are just going to happen, as if it doesn't take intentional movements to be able to make things work. And so the question is, who did hinder you? Like, you were doing well. A lot of times we start out with a nice little plan. We got our goals written out. We say, this is what we're going to do. And somewhere along the line, we stop, we cease, we're not moving, we're not doing, we're not following the plan. So what distracted you? What did you see that somebody else was doing that you felt like what you were doing or what you were working on was not worth it anymore? Or you felt like what they were doing was going to bring more progress than what you wrote down and what you were working on. And that's why a lot of us get stuck, because we do. The problem is that a lot of times is that it's not the fact that we don't have plans. A lot of us do have a plan. The problem is that we are not disciplined enough to follow the plan that we wrote down. Oftentimes, the issue is not the fact that we don't have a plan. The fact of the matter is that we can see what somebody else is doing, and it's okay to be inspired, right? But I don't want us to become copycats. Let me say that again. Like, we can be inspired by what people are doing. However, I don't want us to become copycats. As it pertains to what other people are doing. And so sometimes we see what people are doing and we get inspired, and then we start to copy, and we're like, okay, you know what? I need to do exactly what they're doing. Like, you can do parts of what they're doing, right? But to do exactly what they're doing, oftentimes is going to hinder your progress. It's going to hinder where you're going, because your plan, your map, your blueprint was specifically constructed for what you are building. Right? Just like as a builder, he got a blueprint, and what happens is that blueprint is connected to directly what he said that he was going to build. And if he went and seen somebody else what they were building, and he tried to copy what they were building, it ain't gonna make sense. That door is on that side, and you go look at that house, and now you're trying to build something that's on, now your house, I feel God on that. Now your house is off, right? Your house is off because you decided to go and look at what somebody else was building, and you're trying to build it, bring in different pieces of what their construction looks like, and it's throwing you off. And so I came to talk to somebody this morning. You're going to probably catch this live a little bit later, and let you know that you're not off in a sense of God didn't tell you to do this. You're not off because your idea is off. You're not off because this is not something that you're called to do. You're off because you keep on trying to bring in somebody else's blueprint, somebody else's plan, somebody else's vision. You're trying to connect it to what you are building, and it's throwing you off. And you keep saying there's some pieces that are missing, right? There are some things that's not working out. But I came to tell you to stay the course. What did hinder you? What got you distracted? When did you look at David? Was supposed to be somewhere else, right? And he decides that he's going to stay. But even in the midst of him staying, right, he gets distracted. He ends up looking over the fence. He ends up looking over the fence because he was not in position. He was not where he was supposed to be. And here's the thing. After he ends up looking over the fence, there were so many different things that came after that moment, right? There were so many different things that he had to cover up, that he had to lie, that he had to, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, once you get off track, there's so many different things that you have to try to do to get back on track, right? There's so many different things that you have to do to try to make up for the fact that you did not do what you were supposed to do. Now it's taking you longer, right? Now it's taking you off the place where you were intended to be. And so David was supposed to be somewhere else, ends up being somewhere where he wasn't supposed to be. Then he ends up looking over the fence, and after he looks over the fence, now he did something he wasn't supposed to, and now he finds himself in this continuous cycle. And many of us today, you are in this continuous cycle of delay, not because your plan wasn't correct, not because God didn't say what he said, but you found yourself in a cycle of delay simply because you allowed something to hinder you. You allowed yourself to be hindered. You allowed yourself to be caught up in what somebody else was doing, that now you are so off track. And here's the thing. The one thing I love about God is that he is a restoring God. One thing I love about God is that he is a loving God. One thing I love about God is that even when we get off track, when we go somewhere else, when we're not in the place he wants us to be, when we're not positioned correctly, he is the God of restoration. Come on. He is the God that if you come to him and say, listen, God, I've gotten off track. I'm not where I was supposed to be. But Father, can you please help me to get to the place that I'm supposed to be? Can you send me the people that are going to help me to strategize to get to that place? And guess what? Because of the type of God, the loving God, the caring God, his grace and his mercy, listen, it causes him to move on our behalf. And listen, if you've been off, if you decided that you was going to do something else, if you were hindered, if you're hindered right now, that God is the God of restoration. God is the God that restores, and he can put us back in the place that we need to be. And so don't get discouraged if you are one of those ones that been off course. Don't be discouraged if you're one of the ones that, God that you were doing a great work, and somewhere along the line you allowed the enemy to bring you down from what you were building. Don't get discouraged if you are the one that said, hey, listen, I was running well, but something began to hinder me, and I'm not where I thought I was going to be. I'm not where I'm supposed to be. God is the God of restoration, and God knows how to bring us back where we're supposed to be. I'm never going to tell you about a problem without bringing you a solution. And so for those of you that have been struggling in your goal setting, those of you that have been struggling in sticking to the plan of what you're supposed to be doing, listen, I got news for you. Your life is not over. Just because, you've gotten off a course doesn't mean that your life is over. You still got more life to live. And because you still got more life to live, all you have to do is sit down, breathe, process, and start again. Listen, I came to tell somebody this morning, don't be afraid to try again. Don't be afraid to start again. Yes, you messed up. It's all right. Now you know what not to do. Now you know who not to listen to. Now you know who not to follow. Learning lessons through our failed moments, right? Learning lessons through what did not work. It's one of the best lessons you could ever learn. But don't get stuck in what didn't work. You got to keep going. So those of you that are just joining and watching, my question today was, I was talking about Paul in Galatians chapter 5 and 7, when he's saying like you run well, but what did hinder you? You were doing good, but something hindered you. And I just wanted to encourage anybody today that has been struggling in the hindering aspect, that's been struggling in the parts where I was running well, I was doing well, I was doing something good, but somewhere along the way, things begin to hinder my walk. Things begin to hinder my progress. I was going to school and then I stopped. You were doing well. What hindered you? What distracted you? What even not is, sometimes it's not even a physical distraction. Sometimes it is mental distractions, right? Sometimes it is the thoughts in our own mind that create delay in our lives. Sometimes we want to blame it on other people and say, people don't want us to do far, blah, 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 whatever. But sometimes we got to be honest that it is the own thoughts in my mind that make me believe that I'm not capable, right? So those are the things that I have to combat. My own thoughts that say, hey, listen, you were going to school, then you stopped going to school. You know, you were going to school and you said, listen, I'm too old. It's not going to work out. I'm not going to get a job. You know, all those different things that we start to play inside of our mind to make us believe, you know, that I am not capable. So you were running well, but what did hinder you? And I'm going to tell you this, once you can decide whatever it is you're trying to build, whatever it is you're trying to do, wherever it is you're trying to go, when you can decide, and I was talking to them in Wellness in the Word last night, when you can decide what is the thing that's hindering you, the Bible tells you to know the sin and the weight and the sin, right? That so easily besets you. Why? Because when you know those things, you can create a plan to combat the very thing that has been a hindrance. You can combat the very thing that is a distraction. You can combat the very thing that has been keeping you from fulfilling purpose. But oftentimes, if you don't sit long enough to be able to acknowledge what is the thing that's hindering me, what is the thing that is keeping me, guess what? You're going to still continuously be on this wheel, this hamster's wheel, this same cycle of delay, this same cycle of not producing, this same cycle of doing the same things over and over. They say doing the same thing over and over is what? Insanity. Many of us, we have been going through cycles of insanity because we're doing the same thing over and over, but it's not producing no results. So sooner or later, I got to stop and I say, you know what, self, this is not working. That's what Paul was trying to get them to, the place where they said, you were running well, but what did hinder you? Because he wanted them to be able to acknowledge what is keeping you from where you're supposed to be. And once we can acknowledge what it is, then we have to be intentional about protecting. Hear me. I hear the Lord today. He said, be very intentional about protecting whatever it is you're trying to build. We were talking last night just about simply about weight, getting weight off, being healthy. And so even in that, I'm trying to build a healthier lifestyle. But what is hindering me? We was doing well at the beginning of the year. You was walking every day. You was planning your meals. But somewhere along the way, there was something that began to hinder you. When I acknowledge those things, I can create better habits. I can be intentional about what I choose so that I can continue to run well. I can continue to run my race. And so that's all I have for y'all today. Listen, you were doing well, but what did hinder you? So let's acknowledge those spaces that have been hindering us, and then go and ask the Father to help you. Like I said, that He is the God of restoration. He is the God of love. He is the God of grace. He is the God of mercy. And because He is the God of all of those things, that even when I find myself in places of being hindered and slowed down and being stagnant and not progressing, because of the love that God has for us, because of the type of God that we serve, He will come in and help. He will come in and restore. He will come in and guide. He will come in and lead. All right. So I love y'all so much. I'm going to work. That's all I have today. I will probably post this video a little bit later. But I love y'all so much. I pray y'all have an amazing day. All right. Bye.